we are looking at shares. We are looking at shares. Now, what is a share, or what are shares? We need to explain the various classes of shares and the rights which are on the shares. We need to understand what is issue and allotment of shares, something we have been talking about every time, issue and allotment of shares. We need to know what is a mortgage, what is a transfer, and what is a transmission. What is a mortgage? What is a transfer? What is a transmission of shares? We have to know the difference between a share certificate and a share warrant. There is a difference between a share certificate and a share warrant. What is a dividend? And then what is a prospectus and what is supposed to be inside the prospectus? Okay. A share is simply unit of capital. Okay. Define a share, 2 marks. A share is unit of capital. Tell the examiner that, you get your 2 marks. Unit of capital. Company Alpha is worth 300 billion. Peter has 40 shares. Peter has a unit of the entire 300 billion. Peter has a unit of 40 out of the 300 billion. It is the share capital of a company. It includes stock, if we can distinguish between shares and stock. And we said stock is what? We said stock is simply fully paid shares. We'll discuss them in detail later. Fully paid shares are stock. Those other shares which are not fully paid, those are simply shares. Okay. Now, share is not money. Share is not mafaranga. Share is not mafaranga. But share is measured in terms of mafaranga. A share itself is not money, but it is measured in terms of money. In other words, share is what? Share is a cash equivalent. It is not cash itself, but it is a cash equivalent. You can use a share to go and get the actual cash. You can use a share to get services. You can use a share to get some performance. Now, shares are regarded as movable property. Shares are regarded as property you can move from one place to another place. I can transfer my shares from me to you. I can transfer my shares from me to Becca and I get money. I can transfer my shares to Peter and I get a service. Article 52 of the Companies Act tells us that shares are in the nature of movable property. Now, remember in chapter 3, we have said you have what? Individual membership rights, corporate membership rights, corporate rights. When you look at individual membership rights, we said you have primary and secondary. Now, this is what we need to understand. That when we look at individual membership rights, your rights, you yourself, Pierre, Mary, John, Joshua, you as an individual membership rights, they are in 2 categories. Category A, primary, category B, secondary. Now, today, ladies and gentlemen, understand this. When we talk about primary rights, simply remember DVC, that the individual membership rights, the primary rights are DVC. DVC is not Deputy Vice Chancellor. DVC is dividend, vote, capital. So I'm giving you a shortcut. Individual membership rights, they are primary and they are secondary. The primary ones are DVC. DVC means what? You have a right to dividend. Because you are a shareholder, you have a right to dividend. When do you have a right to dividend? When the dividend is recommended by the board and then it is declared by the general meeting, you have a right to get your dividend, my friend. If they don't give you that dividend, you can go to court. D for dividend. Another right Because you are a member of company Alpha, you have the right to attend meeting and vote. You have the right to vote. V for vote. Every shareholder has the right to vote. If they stop you from voting, Pender versus Lashington, you can go to court. C for capital, right to capital. Which capital? If our company is insolvent, we have sold the assets of the company so that we can pay Becca the money we owe. If there is any residue, if there is any surplus, any money, any assets that remain, that is the capital we are talking about. A shareholder is entitled to a proportionate part of the company's capital in case of winding up after payment of debts and other liabilities. So if we clear the debts and we still have some 300 billion, my friend, you and me as shareholders, we have a right to get something from that 300 billion because the company is going to be closed. Who will take that share? We close and we close completely. We want it to remain zero. So let me get something. You also get something. So primary rights are DVC. Remember DVC, right to dividend, right to vote, right to capital. We'll discuss dividend in a few minutes. Secondary rights. Secondary rights. It is about what? You can say secondary rights. It is about, I say,
please, sir.
Yes.
These are individual membership right. These are concerning individual membership right.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. So this, okay, let me make it clear here. These are individual membership rights. They are primary and secondary. Individual membership rights are primary and secondary. Okay, primary, we have explained. Now, secondary, it is notes and docs. Notes and docs. Notices and documents. Notes and docs, notices and docs. I want us to have a shortcut, a way of remembering. You can remember things very quickly. That is one of the ways to do the exam and finish in good time. Remember those small points, which will give you some 5, 6 marks, and you move on. So notes and docs, notices, right to receive a notice of the general meeting. If you have a general meeting, my friend, you should receive a notice from the company secretary. My friend, if there was a general meeting of our company in Musanze, and we are 40 members, and 39 members attended, or 34 members, whatever number they attended, they received the notice. They received the notice and they attended. And they discussed and they passed resolutions. Then you realize later there was a meeting in Musanze and people attended, but you did not receive a notice for the meeting. My friend, you can go to court. You can tell the court, I was not given a notice. The court will tell the company, you held a meeting in Musanze. You passed 10 resolutions. All those resolutions are null and void. All those resolutions are cancelled. Call for a fresh meeting. Give everybody a notice, including this person who is complaining. So where you do not receive a notice, you can go to court and challenge whatever they have decided, and the court will say, cancel that. It is not going to be valid. That is another example of what? Minority protection. By the way, that is another example of minority protection. That the majority have attended, they were given notice, and you are not given. Why have they not given you? What do they want to convey here? That you should not attend. Okay? Another one, right to receive copies of the balance sheet, right to receive a copy of memorandum and articles, right to receive minutes of the meetings, right to receive copies of charges, registers. You have all these rights. And then you have the right to petition for alternative remedy. Right to petition for alternative remedy. What is alternative remedy? Now, again, this one is about what? Protection of the minority. There are times when a company wants to go for a takeover. Remember briefly we talked about takeover. Takeover is where the bigger company swallows the smaller company, like Airtel and Tigo. Airtel swallowed Tigo. Now, you realize that these people, the majority, want our company to be taken over by Airtel. And then you realize that actually these people, they are the same people who have formed Airtel. Now they want us to be taken over by them. They are hiding, the directors, they are hiding behind a new company, but they want to, it is a fraud. They want to be taken as to sell ourselves to the new company at a loss, to sell ourselves at a loss. You can go to court with the alternative remedy. What is alternative remedy? You are telling the court that we do not want a takeover. Instead, we want winding up. We want the company to come to an end. And we share the little or much that we have. We do not want our company to go for takeover. Remember, a takeover is what? Alternative to winding up. So you're telling the court, no. We do not want alternative to winding up. We want winding up because these people are committing fraud. They are the same people who have opened another company. They now want to buy us at a loss. Okay? Sawa. So those are the individual membership rights when you break them down, primary and secondary. Just remember DVC, just remember knots and docks. Okay. Now, we have already said, where you have a right, you must be having an obligation. As a citizen of Rwanda, you have a right to move anywhere in Rwanda. You have a right to get protection by the government. However, you also have obligation. You also have duty to respect the law, duty to respect other, duty to live in peace. So we also have obligations as members of the company. Remember, when the company is formed, the articles of association and the memorandum are signed. And when these documents are signed, they create a contract between the company and the member. Now, because there is a contract, you have these obligations. One, you must ensure that you pay any outstanding amount. If there is any money that you are supposed to pay to the company, you must ensure you pay. E.g., shares. A call has been made, my friend. You must ensure you pay. If you don't pay, forfeiture. It is an obligation. If you take a loan from the company and you hand over your shares as a lion, as a security, if you don't pay, the shares are grabbed. Okay? Then you will be enjoying the right of dividends. Sibio, you'll be enjoying the right of dividend. However, the company secretary, the management, they are human beings. It is possible they can make a mistake. They can make a miscalculation. If you receive dividend that is higher than you are supposed to receive, my friend, you must pay back the excess. You are supposed to receive dividend of 4%. Instead, you receive the dividend of 7%. My friend, you must pay back that extra. You must repay that you received in excess of what was valid. Then lastly, if there is any other liability, if there is any other obligation specified in the Articles of Association, my friend, you are also bound to ensure that you meet that obligation. Any other obligation they are specified in the articles? So the obligations of a member are pay any amount that is unpaid on your shares, repay any excess dividend, respect any other provision of the Articles of Association. When do you exercise your powers? When do you show these powers that you have? When do you show this, enjoy these rights? Show how you enjoy the rights. You will do this through meetings, the shareholders' meetings, those are the general meetings. You do this when you pass sometimes you can pass a resolution instead of a meeting. We are going to realize this, that we have general meeting, we have extraordinary general meeting, we have the board meeting, we have class meetings, and then if the company calls for a meeting, the secretary has been told to call, and he calls for a meeting, he sends you notice that we are to meet in the next 21 days at Chigali Heights, and we are to discuss whether we approve to start a new project in Rwamagana. So we are to discuss on whether we are going to approve, on whether we're going to accept to start a new project in Rwamagana. And then they send you that notice. And then all of us, we are 15 or 20 in the company. And then all of us write back to the company secretary. I write the company secretary, yes, I've received your notice. And personally, I approve starting the business in Rwamagana. And you also say you approve. And Peter write back and say, we approve. My friend, that one is what? Unanimous resolution. That we do not have to attend the meeting. Once you make the unanimous resolution, the secretary will regard that as a meeting, and you will not have a meeting. The meeting is done, it is finalized. The minutes will be, Moja has approved, Peter has approved, Mary has approved, and that is the end of it. If all of us say the same thing. And this is based on what? Logic. You see, in order to attend a company meeting, preparations must be made. And we are talking of, sometimes you may find a company has 500 people, 1,000 people. And some of us are in Rwamagana, others are in where? In Changugu, others are in Musanze. We are all coming to Chigali. It is an expense. And when we come to the meeting, apart from having documents being circulated, we must also have what? There is always a meal, food. They will eat something. Even if it is just a citro or a mandazi, there will be preparations for the meeting. Those are expenses. What is the objective of a company? Profit. So, if it is possible, we can avoid spending by simply writing and saying yes, or simply writing and saying no, the better. So, the Companies Act says, if all members agree on a particular thing, it is as good as a meeting. And it will be regarded that the meeting was held. Okay, that is that. So unanimous shareholders agreement. We can have an agreement also. Agreement on other things now. Yeah, an agreement or a resolution. All those. That is how you exercise your powers. That's how you exercise your rights as a shareholder. Okay. Now,
please, sir.
Yes.
What I did not understand well. Unanimous. What?
Unanimous means everybody. Everybody.
Okay.
Unanimous means everybody. Now, we are told, not we are told, it is true that God made us all alike, but different. He made us all alike, but different. Yes? Now, we realize that we all belong to this class, I13 of Kigali. Even though we all belong to this class, so we are the same, we have some differences. What are the differences? Oh, we have ladies, we have gents. We have some who are working with a particular ministry of government, others working with a different ministry of government. We have some who are not working. We have some who are, we have all types of people. We have some who live in where? We have some who live in Chimihurura. We have some who live in Kachiru. We have some who live all over, okay? Now, the same thing, we are all shareholders of company Alpha, but we have what? We have classes. We have different types of shares. So when the examiner asks you classes of shares, he's asking you about what? Types of shares. Classes of shares are simply types of shares. Okay. Now, all companies which are limited by share, all companies which are limited by share will have ordinary shares. Okay? All companies limited by share must automatically will have ordinary shares. There is no company limited by share which does not have ordinary shares. All of them, they have ordinary shares. So this is a standard. Okay? Now, it is in the articles of association that we are going to decide what type of shares we will have in our company. And the types of shares that we talk about are basically ordinary shares, preference shares, deferred shares, and employee shares. Ordinary shares, preference shares, deferred shares, employee shares. Inside deferred shares, that then you can find founders shares. Inside the deferred, you will get founders shares. So let us look at this. Ordinary shares. What are ordinary shares? Ordinary shares are the main type of shares in a company. The shareholder of ordinary shares takes the highest risk in the company. Ordinary shares take the highest risk because these shares, the dividend depends with performance. The dividend on ordinary shares depends with the performance. If the company performs well, the dividend will be high. If the company performs poorly, the dividend will be low. If the company does not perform at all, dividend will be zero. Okay? So they take the highest risk. If things are good, you will enjoy. If things are bad, you will suffer. So there is a fluctuation. Okay? Then, these ordinary shares, if the company will go for winding up, the holders of ordinary shares will wait. After the assets and whatever has been used to pay the debt, if there is any surplus, anything remaining, that capital we are talking about, you will be entitled. You'll be entitled to receive the surplus. You'll be entitled to receive the capital. Whatever remains, you as ordinary share, you'll be entitled to receive. Now, you receive this yourselves and who? And the preference shareholders. We're going to talk about this. The problem with ordinary shares is this. The dividend fluctuates. And number two, the other problem with ordinary shares is what? Ordinary shares, they are given a dividend after preference shares have received the dividend. They come second to the preference. Okay? This word preference comes from prefer. Prefer means I like this better than that. Okay. There is alpha and there is omega. I prefer alpha. I don't like omega. So preference comes before ordinary, even though all companies have ordinary, and ordinary fluctuates with the performance. Then we come to preference shares. Preference shares are given first priority. Preference shares are more expensive than ordinary shares. Preference shares are of three main types. Preference shares are of three main types. We have cumulative, we have redeemable, and we have participating. So we have cumulative preference shares. We have redeemable preference shares. And then we have participating preference shares. Now, one thing about preference shares is this. They are more expensive. They are received before ordinary shares, and then their dividend is flat rate. Their dividend is flat rate. It is a fixed rate of dividend. So if it is going to be 2%, it will always be 2%. Whatever the case, 2%. Okay. Number two, when the company makes profit, you will still get your 2%. If the company does not make any profit, you will not get anything. Next year, the company does not make profit, you will not get anything. In the fifth year, when the company makes profit, you will get your dividend for the year the company has made the profit plus the previous years that you missed to get the dividend. So when we talk about cumulative, majority of preference shares are cumulative. Majority of preference shares are cumulative. What do you mean by cumulative? It accumulates. The year that you did not get the dividend, it will accumulate. The next year you did not get, it will accumulate. The fourth year, you will get for the fourth year, plus the third year, plus the second, plus the first, because it was accumulating. Cumulative. Most are cumulative. However, we also have non-cumulative. So there can be, in our articles, we can say, no, we will not have accumulation. But it depends. I will explain this one. Secondly, most preference shares, especially if it is cumulative, it will also be what? Participating. What is participating? They participate with the ordinary shares in getting the surplus. When the company is insolvent, when the company is liquidated, debts are paid, anything that is remaining, preference shareholders will participate with ordinary shareholders in getting what? The surplus. That is why they call participating. But then we can also have what? Non-participating. I will explain this. Now, do you see this? Non-cumulative, non-participating. Non-cumulative and non-participating are simply redeemable preference shares. Non-cumulative and non-participating are redeemable preference shares. Why? Redeemable preference shares are like bonds. They are a short-term loan. The company gives a prospectus and tells the Batulaje, we need 100 billion shillings. So we are giving redeemable preference shares. They are for a period of 6 months. So you run there and you get your small bit. Maybe you want to get a redeemable preference shares of 300,000, another one of 50,000, like that. You give the company the mafaranga. The company goes and does its business. At the end of 6 months, you go back to the company with your redeemable preference share certificate. You give to the company gives you back your money plus an interest on that money. And that interest is a dividend, but it is also an interest because it was a short-term loan. So it is redeemed. Yes, the company redeems. The company takes back. Redeemable. And once they take back, you are no longer the holder of those shares. They have ended. And because they have ended, you will not participate. If at all the company will go for winding up next month, you will not participate because you will not be a shareholder for those particular shares. So that is why you're saying that when they are non-participating and they are non-cumulative, they are redeemable. Number two, they are non-cumulative because unless you are very lucky that it is for such a long period, but it is almost impossible. That the financial year, at the time they will give the dividend, maybe your period of redemption will have already lapsed. So you will not be accumulating anything from any other year. It is usually within a period of year, it is usually within the period of 1 year, maybe 6 months, maybe 7, maybe a short period for these redeemable shares. Okay. So that is what preference shares are. Just remember, preference shares, they have a fixed rate of return on the capital. If the company does well, no problem, you'll get the same thing. If the company does not perform, you will get nothing. But the day the company will perform, you will also get the day you did not get anything. Sawa. And you receive these preference shares, you receive them before the ordinary shareholders receive. Then we have deferred. Now, you see this word? Preference comes from prefer. Preference comes from prefer. Deferred comes from defer. So prefer is before. To defer is to take to the future. So deferred shares are those types of shares which are given after the preference, after the ordinary. They are usually founders or management shares. These are the shares we are talking about when we say that promoters have a right to do what? They have a right to be given something, compensation. Yes? So
Recording in progress.
yes, promoters can be given compensation by way of being given shares after other shares, after preference shares have been given out, after ordinary shares have been given out, and we can see we still have an opportunity to give out more shares. Deferred shares are given. These are shares given after ordinary shares have been given, after preference shares have been given. In order for us to have deferred shares, it must be written in the articles. Okay? So when dividend is paid to ordinary shares, these deferred shares, they will also get dividend. If it is not given, they will not get. So they take that risk, like that one of ordinary shares. When the company has performed, they will get. When the company has not performed, they will not get. It is not like the preference, you will always be getting. It is not like the preference. Okay? They are regarded as founders' shares or management shares. Okay? So another name for deferred shares is founders' shares. And it may also be management shares. What is the difference between founders and management? Founders are promoters. Management is simply management. Some of them may not have been promoters. Management is the top level, yeah, top level. And you may have a director who was appointed 2 months ago, but the company was formed in 1999. So those who are founders, some of them are dead already, some of them have retired. You may therefore have founders' shares for those who promoted the company. Some of them are lucky, they are directors, so they will also get what? Management shares. A company secretary will get management shares. And then you and me, because we are junior officers in the company, we might get employee shares. Employee shares, yes?
If you come again with the difference between a founders or management.
Okay, a founder is a promoter. A founder is the person who started the company.
Yes.
And because he started the company, in our articles, we may say, okay, we shall give them a reward through what? Founders' shares. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
Some of these founders, some of these promoters may also be directors. Yes, not everybody will want to be, not all promoters will want to be directors. Some will want to be, others will say they don't want. So if you are a director,
Yes.
even though you are not a promoter, you might get management shares.
Okay.
In other words, the company was formed in the year 2010. The company was formed in 2010. Now, the people who formed the company were myself, yourself, and Peter. We therefore get founders' shares because myself, yourself, and Peter, we founded the company, we promoted the company, founders' shares. And then myself and Peter, we decide we do not want anything to do with the company now. We just want to go and live back in the village in Changugu. But you decide you will be a director. So you have founders' shares and you also have management shares because you are a director. And then John comes in the year 2021, he's another director. John will get management shares, but he will not get founders' shares because he was not part of the people who promoted the company. So founders are the people who started the company. Management, well, anybody who is in management is management. Then employee shares, the rest of the employees. A company may decide to give the rest of the employees some shares as an incentive to encourage them to work hard. You may be employed by company Alpha and you tell them you want them to pay you 1 million Rwanda franc. Company Alpha tells you, no, we cannot pay you 1 million Rwanda franc, but we are going to pay you 700,000 Rwanda franc, and then we are going to give you employee shares of 100,000. Okay? So we'll give you 700,000 Rwanda franc salary, and then we'll give you 100,000 worth of shares instead of giving you 1 million as salary. So you know you are even better off. You are better off here because these shares will be attracting dividend. For as long as you are an employee, you'll be getting, hoping that the company will be making profit. The only problem with employee shares is you are likely to be told you cannot transfer those shares for the next 3 years, for the next 4 years. In other words, the company wants to hold on you. The company does not want you to move to another company. And you cannot transfer these shares. You have to remain here. And if you move from the company, you surrender the shares. So they can have such conditions in the articles. Okay, that is that. Any question? So we have said the individual membership rights are primary and secondary. Primary are DVC, secondary are notes and docs. Then we have said, because you are a member, you will also have obligations to pay up any debt, obligation to follow instructions under the articles. Then we have said there are various classes or various types of shares: ordinary, preference, deferred, employee. Yes, Alice?
Thank you. I want to ask why preference don't vote.
Okay, it depends. It depends. What you're saying here is they attract a fixed rate of return and generally, not always, generally confer no voting rights. So generally, you may not be given the right to vote, but our articles can say, Sawa, for this you can vote. But generally, they don't give right to vote. Okay, one thing is this. We need to understand that you do not, if you are a serious investor, you will not take one type of shares only. If you are a serious investor, you will have ordinary shares, you will have preference shares, you will have some deferred shares. You happen to be a director. So you have several types of shares, such that if this one gets something, I will get. If this one gets something, I will get. So therefore, you may not be able to vote under your preference shares, but you will vote under your ordinary shares. You are unlikely to have only one type of shares. You are a shareholder of Company Alpha. You have 20,000 ordinary shares, 3,000 preference shares, 600 deferred shares. So you have an assortment. So even if our company does not allow you to vote under preference, you can vote under ordinary. Because ordinary, you have an automatic right to vote. So that is what happens. Okay. Transfer. Now, transfer is simply voluntary conveyance. Transfer is you voluntarily move your shares from yourself to another person, either for money or for free. You want to transfer your shares? Sawa. You move them from yourself to the other person, either for money or it is a gift. That is your own problem. That is transfer. Now, remember, when the articles and the memorandum are signed, a contract is formed between you and the company. Therefore, even though these shares are your shares, if you want to transfer the shares, you must give a notice to the company that I, Peter Rukundo, I want to transfer my 10,000 shares. Because, yes, the shares belong to you, Sawa, but you have a contract with the company. Okay? I want to transfer my shares. Then, when you give the notice to the company also gives the same notice to the other members that are existing. The company tells the members, John Rukundo wants to transfer 20,000 of his shares. And the transfer price is this amount. You are the existing members are given the first opportunity to purchase those shares. Why is this so? This is based on fairness. That let us give our own people who are already here an opportunity to increase their shareholding before we tell the Baturaje out there to come and buy. The company is always more comfortable if it continues to have the same shareholders instead of getting new shareholders who can bring a problem, including buying out the company. So you want to transfer your shares, you give the notice to the company gives the same notice to the rest of the members, and then there must be a proper document of transfer. Each company has its own transfer document. That document must be signed by yourself as you present to the company. And then the board of directors has the right to accept, delay, or refuse your transfer. Yes, the shares belong to you, but the board of directors can accept, can delay, can refuse your transfer. Can tell you, no, you will not sell them. We have refused. E.g., if you want to sell them to a person who is a competitor, if you want to sell them at a time when the board still wants to maintain a particular portfolio, if you want to sell them and yet there is a debt, the board can reject or delay your transfer. But they must give you a reason. When they refuse or when they want to delay, they must tell you, no, because of 1, 2, 3. Okay? That is the position. Now, when you are transferring shares, when you are selling the shares, when you're transferring them, there are certain silent conditions. There are certain silent terms. Implied means it has not been said directly, but it is silent. Okay? That when you are transferring the shares to Peter, Peter will pay the price. Transferee is the one who's going to get the shares. So if you want to transfer, if you are transferring your shares to Peter, it is implied that Peter will pay the price. Of course, even though we know you can also give the shares as a gift. But where you are giving the shares for Mafaranga, it is implied Peter will pay the Mafaranga. So if he doesn't pay, what do? You can take him to court. Number 2, if you are transferring the shares to Peter, it is implied you will give Peter the correct transfer document. Don't give him a forged document, a document of Kubeisha. You give him the correct transfer document so that he does not suffer any loss. Next, when you are transferring 10,000 shares or 50,000 shares, it is implied that it is true. The value is 50,000 or the value is what is written on that document must be the truth that it is that particular. The type of shares that is written there, it must be true that it is the type of shares. So don't write, don't give us a document. You're saying these are preference shares and yet they are not. They are deferred. Or these are ordinary shares and yet they are employee. And then you will not try to play fraud by saying you are transferring and then you go to the company secretary and you tell him, do not accept that transfer. In other words, I am selling to you something, and when you give me the money, I delay or I refuse to give you that thing that I'm selling. So I should not prevent. If I am transferring, I myself should not prevent. The company has the power, the board has the power to accept, delay, or reject. But for me, myself, the transferor, I have no power to be sure that I am transferring to you, and then I go and I make sure that you do not get. I cannot do that.
Please, sir.
So it must be, yes.
Come again with number 3.
The
number
rights
3.
Okay. The share certificate carries the rights and interests it purports to convey. The share certificate is showing that Peter Rukundo has 3,000 shares worth 300,000 Mafaranga. These 3,000 shares are preference shares. It must be the truth. It must be that it is true. These are preference shares. They are 3,000, they are worth 300,000. It should not be that these shares are 3,000 and they are worth 10,000. So you should not give that document which has fraud in it. Oh, these shares have voting rights, and yet they do not have voting rights. So whatever the shares are showing that they have, the rights that they have, must be the truth. Then, once I transfer the shares to you, I transfer to you. It is your responsibility to make sure that the shares are registered. Once I transfer to you, now you go to our company secretary and make sure they are transferred. Okay. It is no longer my job. I have finished my job. Next, just 1 minute. See, somebody has written something. Somebody is saying it is raining. Oh, so you have a problem with the class? It is not clear? Carissa? I can see Jackie is also, it is raining.
It's not a problem of class, it's rain.
Raining.
Yeah, but there's no problem, you can continue.
Okay, so, but we are almost taking our break, so the next few minutes. Sawa. So simply, you will not expect me, after I have sold the shares to you, you will not expect me to come and ensure they are registered with the company secretary. It is your problem now. Go and make sure they are registered. Then the last thing is, in case you will suffer any loss, if there will be any problem, it is you find out that, oh, there is a problem on this document, there is a problem on these shares, I will compensate you. That is the last one here, where you're saying that the transferor will indemnify the transferee. I will compensate you. That is what you are saying. Okay, that is the position. Any question?
I have a question, sir. All type of shares allow to beneficiaries the right to vote.
Pardon? Repeat.
The type of all type that we had here of
Yes.
shares.
Yes.
Give right to vote to their beneficiaries. Oh, everyone.
No.
Yes.
Everyone. Continue.
Everyone who has for example, other shares which are not ordinary, has the ordinary
Right to
also.
vote. Now, what we are saying is, under normal circumstances, as long as you are a shareholder, you have the right to vote in a general meeting. As long as you're a shareholder, you have the right to vote in a general meeting. However, our articles of association may state that a certain type of shares will not have the right to vote. E.g., sometimes preference shares will not have the right to vote. Sometimes preference shares will not, especially redeemable preference shares will not have the right to vote. Because you are there for a short time and then you go, Otherwise, all other shares, you will have a right to vote. Unless the articles say that this type you will not vote. And what we are saying is, it is not a big problem. Why? Because when you become a shareholder and you're a serious one, you will not take one type of shares. You will take more than one. Because you want to ensure that if the company makes profit, you get something. If it does not make profit, no problem, but you will be getting something very soon. So you want to, it is like you've gone fishing or you've gone hunting. You are looking for an antelope. If you are looking for an antelope, you know an antelope. Do you know what an antelope is? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, you know it.
If you go hunting and you are looking for an antelope, nothing can stop you from grabbing a rabbit. If you see a rabbit, you will take. You cannot say, rabbit is too small. Let me go looking for. My friend, you might not get that antelope. So you take the little that you get and you thank God. And therefore, when you are going to take shares in a company, you will definitely want to take this also, and also take this also, and also take that, so that you are now income. If something good happens, I will get from here. If something bad happens, no problem. Very soon, I will also get from this one. So the right to vote, you will always be having that right to vote, unless the articles have stopped you, e.g. with the preference shares. Okay, then the next thing is this, that when you get shares, you must then have a document confirming that you have shares, confirming that you are a shareholder. Okay? So you get the document called a share certificate. It is a document given by the company showing the number of shares you have and the extent to which they are paid. So you have 40,000 shares, out of which you have paid 7,000. You have 40,000 shares, but you have paid 7,000. The remaining 33,000, you are waiting for calls, or some of them, there is a debt, whatever it is, but they show the number and the extent that is paid. A share certificate is not a title deed. A share certificate is not a contract, and it does not guarantee that what is written there is the correct thing. It does not guarantee. It may be written 40,000 and yet they are actually 34,000 or they are 20,000. Okay? A share certificate is a document showing the name of the person, the date, the number of shares held, the number paid, the number outstanding. Yes? Alice?
I want to know the shares left behind. What are they? Why they are not paid up?
Because you have been allotted, once they allot you shares, once you are allotted shares, you are a shareholder. Yes? You have subscribed for shares in Company Alpha. You have subscribed for shares in Company Alpha. Company Alpha has told you, okay, Alice, you wanted how many? 50,000. Sawa. we have allotted you 50,000 shares. And he said, you are a shareholder of Company Alpha. Even though the company has not made a call for all those shares, the company has only made a call for 5,000 shares. Out of the 50 they have allotted you, they have made a call for 5,000. So you are supposed to go and pay for 5. So you end up paying for 5. Okay, you pay 5,000. There is 45,000 shares which are still there waiting for you to pay. You will pay when they make a call, you pay. When they make a call, you pay. So the total is 50, but what you have paid is 5. Maybe after 6 months, they make another call, you pay for 3. After 8 months, they make another call, you pay for 7, like that. So you don't pay for all the shares immediately unless you have the money. If you have the money, well and good. Otherwise, shares are paid for in bits, and you'll find there are some which are still unpaid. The company is waiting to tell you when to come and pay. Okay. So the share certificate is not a cash equivalent, my friend. The share certificate simply shows that you are a shareholder. It shows your name, the number of shares, those paid, those unpaid. Bas. It is not a cash equivalent. It is not a title deed. It is simply face value. Again, we have gone to prima facie. It is simply face value. Look at this, prima facie, face value. It is simply face value that you are the owner of the shares. But it does not say what has happened here. Sorry for that. It does not say that it is a cash equivalent. No. Okay. Share certificate, Article 84. A share certificate is not a document of title, but a face value evidence of ownership. It is simply showing that you are the owner of 50,000 shares. Even though you paid for 4,000, there is a 46,000 unpaid. In order to understand this, we need to look at share warrant. Share warrant. Now, a share warrant is a cash equivalent. A share warrant confirms that Mary is the owner of these 20,000 shares, and you can use this share warrant to get money. It is cash equivalent. It is a title deed. It's a negotiable instrument. You can take it to Becca and you get money equivalent to the shares that have been specified there. Okay. It will show the name, it will show the shares and the dividend that is to be paid on those shares. So, in simple terms, a share warrant is more powerful than a share certificate. A share warrant confirms that this guy or this lady is the owner of 20,000 shares. A share warrant, all the shares written there are fully paid. Share warrant, all the shares written there are fully paid. A share certificate, it has the paid and the unpaid. Okay? That is the position. Any question? Okay, so I think we can end our class now. and wait for the evening class. Meanwhile, you can go through what is remaining there. Then when we get to class, when we come back, we shall look at the matters in detail. You can look at the differences between share certificate and share warrant at your free time. But for now, let us end the class. We take a cup of tea, and then we see what else. Share warrant is a cash equivalent. Share warrant is a negotiable instrument. It is like a check. What is written in a share warrant is 100%. Share warrant, all the shares have been paid. Share warrant, you can take to Baker and you will be given the money worth those shares. Share warrant is a title deed. Share warrant is a negotiable instrument. Share warrant is 100% the value that is written there. A share certificate, you cannot guarantee because it has the paid and the unpaid. Share warrant, everything has been paid. So if you are to choose between a share certificate and a share warrant, take a share warrant. A share certificate, this guy has 500,000 shares, but he has paid for 2,000 shares. A share warrant, this guy has 2,000 shares and he has paid for 2,000 shares. That is the position. Okay. And under normal circumstances, if you want a loan, if you want some credit facility, it is the share warrant which will be accepted. And you see what? It even shows the dividend that is to be paid on those shares. So when you give John that share warrant, apart from that value being the correct value, he also knows the dividend to be paid on this is this %. So he'll just be waiting. When the financial year has come to an end, he knows there is a certain percentage this guy is going to get. I need that money from him to help to clear this debt. Sawa. So I request we end the class there, and then we shall proceed from the same place. We will not go far. We will proceed from there. Difference between share certificate and share warrant, and then we go to transmission, and then we move to the next thing. So let us come back at past for the next session.
Thank you.
When?
When?
It
Today?
will be physical.
Yeah?
At which
It will be
time?
physical class.
Why physical? We are still going to use, it is today in the evening. We have double class, my friends.
At which time? The next class.
5:30. You don't have the timetable. 5:30.
Okay.
At which
Yeah.
at which day?
You don't have timetable.
Okay.
Okay.
Today. We have double. Our classes are double.
Okay. It is today.
Yeah.
5:30 to 8:30.
Yeah, here you go. Sawa.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay.